Welcome in, everyone. I am absolutely thrilled to unpack today's explainer with you. We're going to explore a fascinating and, frankly, a deeply relatable psychological concept today. It's something that so many high-achieving, hyper-capable people experience, yet almost nobody openly talks about. We're looking at a phenomenon where, to the outside world, you're perceived as this absolute pinnacle of wisdom, stability, and maturity. People look at you and think, wow, they really have it all together. But internally? Well, you might feel completely empty, running on fumes and entirely disconnected from your own emotional core. Today, we are talking about the psychology of split maturity.
Okay, let's dive into this. I want to ask you a very direct question, and I want you to be totally honest with yourself right now. Do you consistently give phenomenal advice to your friends, your family, your colleagues, but somehow feel entirely lost when it comes to your own life? Are you the designated adult in your friend group? You know the exact role I'm talking about. Think of that manager who mediates every single office conflict with perfect composure, but then cries in their car on the way home. You're the fixer. You're the mediator. You're the one everyone calls when their life is falling apart because you always know exactly what to say. Yet, when you hang up the phone, you're just left sitting there in silence, feeling a strange, hollow echo inside yourself. Listen, if you're nodding your head right now, I need you to know something right out of the gate. You are not broken. What you're experiencing is a profound structural disconnect. To the outside world, you are wise, stable, and together. You're basically a lighthouse for everyone else's storms. But internally, you feel empty, numb, and totally disconnected. Your external intellect, meaning your ability to logically process the world and solve complex problems, has essentially run a marathon, while your internal emotional state was, well, left tied to the starting line. So we're going to break down exactly why this happens and, much more importantly, how to actually fix it.
Here's a quick roadmap for our explainer today. First, we'll look at the paradox of adulthood. Second, we'll define split maturity. Third, we'll explore where the split begins. Fourth, the daily experience. Fifth, bridging the gap. And finally, redefining true wholeness.
All right, let's jump right into section 1, the paradox of adulthood.
And this brilliantly illustrates our core problem. Society hands us a very specific, incredibly heavy script for what it means to be a successful adult. We're told that maturity is defined by our outward stability. Perfect careers, perfect composure, and the magical ability to handle crises without ever breaking a sweat. But here's the catch. We master that external script at the absolute expense of our internal reality. Think of your mind and your life as this beautiful fortress. From the outside, the architecture is stunning. The walls are thick, the foundation is completely structurally sound, the landscaping is flawless. Anyone walking by would admire it. But if you were to actually unlock the front door and step inside, there is absolutely no furniture, no art on the walls, no warmth, just cold, empty, echoing rooms. You spent so much time and energy reinforcing the exterior to protect yourself and impress the world that you completely forgot to make the inside a place where you can actually live comfortably.
Moving right along to section 2, defining split maturity.
I find it incredibly empowering to realize this isn't just a random personal failing, it's a recognized structural pattern called split maturity. Basically, this is a psychological framework where your intellectual and external competence completely outpaces your internal emotional fulfillment. You have essentially become too smart for your own good. Your brain is just so incredibly adept at intellectualizing your feelings, managing optics, and projecting pure competence that it has entirely bypassed the messy, necessary work of actually feeling your emotions. You've matured intellectually, sure, but your emotional self has been totally starved of attention.
Which brings us to section 3, where the split begins.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is seeing how someone as smart and capable as you actually ends up here. Because it doesn't happen overnight. It's a slow, methodical conditioning that maps perfectly onto the modern trajectory of success. In your early 20s, the societal pressure is enormous. The focus is entirely on your career, paying bills, and proving your external stability. You learn to suppress your anxiety just to nail a job interview. Then as you move into your late 20s, you start mastering complex logic. You become the go-to person at work. You learn to give brilliant, detached advice to your peers. And society rewards you heavily for being the stoic, smart one. But then, we hit the 30s. The intellectual demands of your life hit an absolute peak. You might be managing teams, a family, complex finances. But because you spent a solid decade prioritizing logic over vulnerability, your emotional processing has completely stalled out. What was once a small gap is now a canyon.
Okay, section 4, the daily experience. Understanding the timeline is one thing, but actually living it on a random Tuesday afternoon is something else entirely. What does this look like in your day-to-day life? Consider your daily energy output for a second. 90%. That is a massive, overwhelming majority of your daily bandwidth spent just managing external expectations. It's spent projecting wisdom, holding it together at meetings, supporting your partner, and desperately maintaining the beautiful fortress. That leaves a measly 10% for your own internal emotional fulfillment. I mean, is it any wonder you feel exhausted? When your energy is this skewed, just surviving the day feels like a massive success. But survival is exhausting when you aren't actually drawing any energy back into your emotional core.
This all culminates in a deeply painful paradox: being wise but feeling empty. Just sit with that phrase for a second. Being wise but feeling empty. It's the defining reality of split maturity. You've accumulated so much wisdom about how the world works, how relationships function, and how to navigate crises. But because that wisdom is purely intellectual and completely detached from your own emotional vulnerability, it provides you with absolutely zero warmth. It's literally like having the ultimate textbook on how to build a fire, but freezing to death anyway because you never actually struck a match.
Let's move to section 5 and see how this builds. Bridging the gap.
Okay, we know the architecture of the problem. We know exactly why the fortress is empty. Now we need to start bringing the furniture inside. There are 3 absolutely crucial steps to begin integrating your highly developed intellect with your abandoned emotional core. Step 1, acknowledge the emotional void. You have to stop pretending the fortress is full. It takes real courage to look at your life, despite all your success, and say out loud, "I feel empty right now." Step 2, pause intellectualizing your feelings. Look, I'll be honest, this is going to be the hardest one for you. When you feel sad or anxious, your brain's immediate reaction is to solve it like a math problem. Stop making a spreadsheet of your anxiety. Actually, scratch that. I know it's a hard habit to break, but you just need to let yourself feel it. Just for 5 minutes, let yourself feel sad without trying to fix it. And step 3, begin integrating the wise self with the empty self. This means taking that incredible compassion and brilliant advice you give to your friends and finally turning it inward. Talk to yourself the exact same way you talk to the people who rely on you.
And that leads us to our final section, Section 6, Redefining True Wholeness. So, the crucial point is, if split maturity is the problem, what's the ultimate goal? What does it actually look like when this gap is finally closed? The answer is true wholeness. This means a harmonized intellect and emotion. You are still brilliantly logical, of course, but you're also deeply in touch with your feelings. They work as a team now, not as rivals. It means your internal fulfillment actually matches your external success. The inside of the house is just as beautiful and warm as the outside. And finally, it means prioritizing authentic connection over performative wisdom. You no longer have to be the designated adult 24/7. You are allowed to be messy, to not know the answers, and to actually lean on others for a change.
I really want to leave you with this final vital thought. Wisdom, without feeling, isn't maturity. It's just survival. You have survived brilliantly. You really have. You've built an incredible fortress, but surviving isn't the same thing as thriving, is it? So my question to you as we wrap up this explainer is simply this. Are you ready to unlock the door, step inside, and actually start to live? Thank you so much for joining me today. I highly encourage you to take a little time to reflect on what we've unpacked here, and I'll see you in the next explainer.